At a half a liter in volume, the Geekom IT15 is a tiny PC. It's certainly the smallest system on the channel so far, and with the latest Intel Core Ultra CPU and ARC mobile graphics, it is also one of the most powerful in its size class, all while consuming less than 60 watts from the wall in an all-core stress test. With relatively decent 1080p gaming performance and admirable multi-core endurance, Geekom sent over this unit for review. However, apart from receiving this free of charge, they have no input on this video, and I will do my best to remain unbiased. Sporting the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H and the integrated Intel Arc 140T GPU, 32GB of DDR5 memory, and a 2TB Gen 4 M.2 SSD. The IT15 also includes Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, and USB 4.0 support. In the box, we get the Geekom IT15 system itself, the AC power adapter, an HDMI 2.0 cable, a VESA adapter to mount it to the back of your monitor, and the mounting hardware for the VESA adapter. This tiny PC is all black, made from durable plastic for the casing, a metal structural cage, ventilation on both sides and the rear. The bottom panel is metal with 4 rubber feet. What stands out the most is the amount of I/O. For its size, the number of USB ports is impressive. On the front, you get 2 USB 3.2 Type A ports, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and a LED power button. I was really excited for the dedicated SD card reader on the left side. As a creator who uses several SD cards during a single project, this is a game changer. No more USB dongles. Something I use even on my $2,000 editing PC. On the right side, you get a Kensington lock which secures to the internal cage, keeping people from walking away with your PC. On the back side, things get more interesting. Starting on the left side, there's a 19-volt DC barrel connector, a USB 4.0 Type-C port with 100-watt power delivery, so you can power this with a supporting power adapter and cable. This port also features a DisplayPort output, giving you up to 4K 144 or 8K 30. There's an HDMI 2.0 port, which can give you 4K 60 or 1440p 144Hz and 1080p up to 240Hz. You also get a single RJ45 2.5 gigabit LAN port and 2 more USB Type-A ports, one USB 3.2 and one USB 2.0. You can access the internals from the bottom. There are 4 captive screws that double as the case feet. Upon opening, you're met with a SATA ribbon cable used for the internal SSD bay, or you can place a 2.5-inch SSD at the bottom. Carefully remove this to expose the tiny motherboard. We have a thermal pack covering the SSD and foam shielding to protect the external I/O from the metal bottom panel. On the left side, stacked similar to standard laptop memory, we have 32GB of DDR5 5600 mega transfer SODIMM memory, a much more compact version of standard desktop memory. This kit I have here is from a lesser known company, but I have seen some samples with memory from Micron under the Crucial branding. This is usually the case when integrators need to source parts from different manufacturers to maintain stock, and at times like this, it's hard to be picky. 32GB is the sweet spot for gaming, content creation, and standard run-of-the-mill everyday multitasking. They include a 2TB Gen 4 M.2 SSD from Lexar, the NQ7A1, with quoted read and write speeds of 6,000 and 5,000 megabytes per second in a best case scenario. In my opinion, 2TB of storage is enough for several AAA games and for your main applications. Apart from the pre-populated 2280 M.2 SSD slot, there's a smaller 2230 M.2 SSD slot on the side. Underneath the SSD, we have the Intel BE200 Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4 wireless adapter, connected directly to the built-in chassis antenna, providing extremely fast wireless speeds and solid connectivity for your Bluetooth devices. To access the CPU and the only fan, we need to remove 2 screws on both sides of the PCB, then pop the toolless top cover, revealing 4 additional screws. Let's talk about this Arrow Lake CPU, the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H, which is an integrated mobile processor with 16 cores, 6 high-performance cores, and 8 efficiency cores, with 2 low-power efficiency cores. It has a max single-core boost clock of 5.4 GHz on those performance cores. Because it's a mobile processor, it comes with a 45-watt TDP. For the graphics, we have the Intel Arc 140T GPU with a max clock of around 2.35 GHz, 77 TOPS, and 8 Xe cores. It supports the latest H.265 hardware acceleration with Intel QuickSync and AV1 codecs, with some sources mentioning up to 16 GB of shared system memory. On paper, is very competitive for low-end 1080p gaming and video editing. Upon booting up, we get the Geekom logo screen. Press the delete key to access the BIOS. From here, we have a limited amount of options, and this is where you can change the fan speed profiles. You have silent, normal, and performance modes, with the normal profile set as default. These modes just change the fan curve and do not directly affect CPU power draw. However, they can provide more thermal headroom for longer, more stable boost clocks. Let's take a look at performance in 1080p gaming. I ran a few scenarios in Cyberpunk 2077 with Intel's upscaling and frame generation. On 1080p high settings with no frame generation or upscaling, we see 24 frames per second, with the CPU hovering around 75 degrees and pulling about 35 watts, while the GPU is at 60 degrees and around 15 watts. With the entire system drawing roughly 55 watts from the wall. In 1080p medium, we see 28 frames per second with a small drop in visual quality. Power draw on the CPU and GPU largely stays the same. However, we see a slight thermal increase, about 77 degrees on the CPU and 65 on the GPU. At 1080p low, image quality dips slightly, but we still see playable 35 frames per second. If we enable XeSS at quality mode, on 1080p high settings, we see about 34 frames per second, or roughly 10 frames higher than with no upscaling. 43 frames per second on 1080p medium with upscaling, and 45 frames per second at 1080p low. With frame generation enabled, we see even higher reported numbers, and we finally break 60 frames per second in 1080p high with upscaling and frame generation. Around 70 frames per second at 1080p medium, and a meager 2-frame increase on 1080p low. I also ran a match or two in Battlefield 6, and despite the obvious operator skill level, we see somewhat okay performance if you're willing to enable some upscaling, anywhere between 30 to 45 frames per second from high to low settings. In Cinebench R24, we get 981 points in our 10-minute multi-core test with 130 points in our single-core test. In Geekbench 6, we get a multi-core score of 14,478, 2,886 in the single-core test, and 33,000 in the GPU score. The biggest advantage I believe for this tiny PC is the video editing performance. My recent NK73 project was edited on this tiny PC with 4K 30 H.265 10-bit 422 footage. At full playback resolution, the timeline was smooth. Not as smooth as my dedicated editing PC, but still impressive. With simple warp stabilizer and light effects applied, export time was noticeably longer. About 3.5 minutes with my 265K and 5070 versus 20 minutes on a Geekom IT15. However, you spend much more time editing versus exporting. The tiny CPU fan is the sole source of active cooling. Noise levels at idle is slightly above ambient. Under low and silent mode, we see roughly 2 decibels above ambient. The normal profile is about 45 decibels above ambient. And the performance profile is the loudest at over 3000 RPM or about 10 decibels over ambient. When it comes to the Wi-Fi 7 speeds, I have 3 gigabit fiber in my studio and I'm about 10 feet or 3 meters from the router. I got 1 gigabit download and 1.5 gigabit upload speeds, which is impressive considering there's no external antennas. The Geekom IT15 is a surprisingly capable mini PC. Despite its lower power draw and compact size, it offers passable low-end 1080p gaming and respectable multi-core performance. Let's start with the cons. Although the IT15 is durable as shown in the marketing material, the quality of the external plastic could be better. It has a semi-soft matte texture, which is a fingerprint magnet. I wish they would have gone with a more premium material like aluminum, like some of their other tiny PC models. We do get 3 different fan profiles, but they only slightly expand thermal headroom for the CPU. I do understand the desire to keep the total power draw to around 60 watts from the wall. Another con is that CPU fan itself. It's really small and I wish they would have went with a slightly bigger fan, even if that means a slightly bigger chassis. Now for the pros. The value of this tiny PC is entirely subjective. However, seeing the current PC market, the roughly 1,000 USD price tag is not that bad. It's extremely portable and versatile with several ways to power it via a 19-volt barrel connector or a USB-C pass-through cable. Wireless connectivity is strong. Though Wi-Fi 7 is fast, I didn't expect to see 1 gigabit up and downstream, with no external antenna or adapter. And for creators, the SD card reader is genuinely useful. In my testing, it reached around 250 megabytes per second, which is plenty for offloading 4K project files. Not to mention the plethora of USB connectivity. So, Do I recommend the Geekom IT15? Yes, sort of. While it's small and powerful, it should not be your first option if gaming is your main priority. Gaming on this PC is more of a extra nice to have. 60 FPS and 1080p across all graphical settings should be the bare minimum if you want an entry-level gaming PC. I do recommend the IT15 if you want a super portable and minimal setup, especially if you're into productivity and creative tasks like video editing. The Geekom IT15 does come with Microsoft Office pre-installed, and they also provide a 3-year limited manufacturer warranty, which is very important for long-term ownership. What do you think of the Geekom IT15 and the relative state of mini PCs today? That's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.